What's up, everybody? Austin here, Bro Epic.
Joey here, Bro Epic as well. We've got a great episode to kick off the new season.
Yes, we do. We are starting season 2, even though season 1 is, what is it, 10 episodes? And
That's pretty solid for a first
season. It took us 2 years to make it. Season 2 is going to definitely come out more often.
Yeah. So today's topic is Hellen Keller.
Yeah. She's a fucking fake. I mean,
that's the theory. That's the theory.
There's lots of stuff that she did. One of them we'll start out with. Apparently, she flew a plane.
Yes, she did. She flew a plane.
Let's see. I've got
1946, I believe, was the year.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up right here.
It was over the Mediterranean Sea.
Yep, she was going from, where is it, Rome to Paris, I think? Where is it here? Yeah. Rome to Paris. It was 20 minutes that she flew over the Mediterranean Sea. Now, don't get me wrong. She wasn't flying it solo.
No, she was sitting in the co-pilot seat of a small aircraft. I believe it was probably a single engine. Possibly a double engine.
Where is it here?
Definitely a small aircraft, though.
In June 1946, Hellen Keller piloted a 4-engine Douglas Skymaster.
Engine?
She flew a big plane. And it's like, okay. I wouldn't trust a blind person to touch anything in a plane. And this guy, what's his name here?
I believe the 3 people on the plane were the pilot, Hellen Keller, and Hellen Keller's interpreter person that was relaying the pilot's instructions to Hellen Keller.
Yeah.
Through some sort of means.
Yeah. So, I don't know about you. If you were just in a pilot seat, do you think you could have flown a plane for 20 minutes rock steady over the Mediterranean for your first time ever? Well, touching anything in a plane, touching it for the first time, someone's giving you directions. I guarantee you, I couldn't fly rock steady the way that the interpreter says that she did it.
Well, right. When you think about it logically, you can't see anything. You can't hear anything. How?
Oh, yeah.
So how are you even getting your instructions through somebody's what? Are they touching your face and telling you?
Yeah.
Hey, you need to pull up.
Yeah. The whole thing is she's deaf and blind.
Right. So communication.
She had to read through Braille. So
right.
You're not only is she blind. You're what? Like
right? No, that's
I can't even think of words to say right now.
I've always wondered how she became what they claim to be so articulate, because there's like they'll quote her on things that she said to her interpreter, but you have to wonder how much of that she's actually like communicating and how much of that is the interpreter making it sound better than it was. Like the interpreter saying that she was like, oh, flying this plane was such an impactful experience for me. Well, it was probably more along the lines of plane flying fun, it's probably the communication she got, right?
No, I think Family Guy said it best.
Right. Well, right, but like, in whatever, I don't even know how they communicated. Did she try talking?
Let's see. What does this article say?
If so, wouldn't there be footage of her trying to talk? I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't say how she communicated in the plane, because all it says here is she sat in the co-pilot seat with the pilot beside her, and I, as in her interpreter, relayed to her his instructions. The plane crew was amazed at her sensitive touch on the controls. There was no shaking or vibration. She just sat there and flew the plane calmly and steadily. What? How? You can't see, you can't hear. So how do you get Braille fast enough to be able to, like, do they have instructions like already printed out in Braille?
Well,
So
that's what I'm saying. There's
she
no
just,
way it was relayed in Braille. So I want to know how her interpreter communicated with her. Because there's no way it was Braille. There's just no, you're not sitting there putting dots on a piece of paper and like
No,
super quick.
And it's like, yeah, some deaf people, you can't hear, but they can feel vibrations. So you could say, oh, the vibrations. She was in a fucking plane, the whole thing's vibrating. So that theory doesn't work either.
Right.
Because like Beethoven went deaf, and that's why in his later music, it gets into the really low notes, because he could feel the low notes. But you're in a plane, you can't feel anything other than the plane.
Right. I mean, I guess you could feel whether you're going up or down just based off of, if you feel like you're dropping out of the sky, you're probably in a nosedive. But
Yeah, but think the last time you were.
But that never happened. Apparently, she was steady the whole time. So how would she even know?
But yeah, think of like the last time you were on a plane, and you don't notice that the plane is banking unless you look out the window. You can't feel it inside.
Right. You actually feel it as if you were pulling up. You get the same feeling as if you're pulling up as when you do when you're banking, because the plane is turning, and the direction that you feel in your seat, you're getting pushed down into your seat when you're banking or going up.
Yeah.
So you don't know which one is which, though, unless you look out the window, right? You need the visual cue.
Yeah, you're being pushed into the seat whether you're going up or turning. So it's like, how do you know what you're doing unless you open up the shade and you're like, cool, we're going left.
Right. Right. And if you can't see that, then how do you know?
It's weird. Because
and
like
who knows?
also part of the story is it says deaf-blind Keller learned how to read and write with instructions from her partially blind teacher.
Wait, her interpreter person was partially blind? Oh, okay.
No, just her teacher that taught her how to.
Is that Sullivan?
Yeah. So Anne Sullivan was partially blind and taught a deaf-blind lady how to do stuff.
You gotta wonder how does that even start? How do you get somebody from like nothing? They've got nothing but touch and smell, so they can tell when you're farting. Yeah. But other than that, how do you even like communicate at all? How do you get? Because she was 18 months old when she was blind and deaf.
Yeah, I mean, you're learning stuff at that age, but not 18 months, you're not learning enough. You may have said your first words, but you haven't learned enough words to like even remember at that age. To
right. No, my cousin's son is 2 years over 2 years old, and he still doesn't even put together sentences.
No.
So
I
18
mean,
months, it's a year and a half, right? Like you said, you're just saying your first words and whatnot. Other than that,
yeah.
your understanding of the world is not there.
Yeah. And I mean, it says here that Thompson, her interpreter, met Keller through a hairdresser, and they traveled Europe. How much fun is that really? Because it says here that Hellen Keller was there on Europe representing the American Foundation for the Overseas Blind. But she went deaf before she could really learn to talk. So how's all of that? How's the whole thing just doesn't make sense.
No, it really doesn't.
It kind of gives like Stevie Wonder vibes, because theory is Stevie Wonder's not actually blind either.
Is
And
that
I
a theory?
think it's a strong theory. Even Shaq doesn't believe that he's blind.
Oh wow.
Because one of the stories that Shaq told on one of the late night shows, I don't remember which one, is he left his Hummer downstairs, and the next thing he knows is Stevie's gone, and he hears honking, and it's Stevie Wonder in Shaq's Hummer honking the horn through the parking lot.
Wow.
And then there's a bunch of things where you can see it on video too. Something will happen in front of Stevie, and he'll react to it.
React right like you saw it.
And it's just, do we know for certain, like, were these people actually like truly disabled the way that we're told they are?
I mean, you have to wonder. The only person that could confirm it to any extent would be their doctor, but their doctor's not required to ever divulge that information one way or another. So
Yeah, no, you've got doctor-patient confidentiality.
right,
So like,
so you don't know.
you,
They can make a claim, and their doctor can't even, unless there's. No, I mean, even if you're breaking the law because of that doctor-patient confidentiality, even if you're using it to commit fraud, you're still they still don't have to say anything unless you're going to harm somebody.
yeah,
Then
I mean,
they don't have to say anything.
I don't even think that like a subpoena could really get anything saying, hey, this person's a fraud and whatnot.
Right? No, because they don't have to divulge that information.
Because it's like, yes, is it fraud? Sure. But are they making money off of the government being disabled, or are they making money off of doing what they're doing using the disability
Well,
to their benefit?
That's the key, is that
Like,
in order for
that's
there
not
to ever,
like, that's not fraud that the government cares about. It's like, oh, cool, you faked being blind and you had all of this success as a musician. Yeah, we don't care about that. That's not anything we care about. You didn't fraud us. You didn't collect disability checks for it.
Right.
So they're not going to care.
That's the key. For a lawsuit, there has to be damages. So there has to be, somebody has to say that because this person lied, I lost money and I want that money back. That's the whole point of a lawsuit. So if there's no damages, if it's like, oh, Stevie Wonder was a musician, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I bought Stevie Wonder's music because I thought he was blind, that's the only reason I bought it. And that's goofy. You know, a judge is going to be like, get out of here with that. Yeah, so it would be really hard to seek any kind of recourse unless, like you said, if you were collecting disability or something. Yeah, and that's a little easier to go after. But yeah,
like they weren't doing that. But like, Like here, how many books did Helen Keller write?
A handful, at least a few.
I
Well, that's
know.
the thing. Imagine if you can legally be, be a well-known person and make a whole bunch of money with lying about a disability, lying about having a disability.
Here it says here on the American
Huh.
Foundation for the Blind, Helen Keller wrote 14 books and over 475 speeches and essays.
See, I don't believe that, man. I really don't. That's a lot of books.
I mean, it says
How
one of
she's
the it says one of the topics here is blindness prevention.
blindness prevention.
Yeah.
I don't think she's an expert in blindness prevention.
No, she's not. She's blind.
Dude,
I feel
that's like getting weight loss advice from a big fat fatty. You know,
Let's see.
like, hey, I'm morbidly obese, but you should probably cut out the
You-
carbs.
You should cut out the carbs and quit drinking soda.
Oh yeah, thanks. I'll really take that advice. It works wonders for you.
Yeah. Helen Keller wrote 14 books and over 475 speeches and essays on topics such as faith, blindness prevention, birth control, the rise of fascism in Europe, and atomic energy.
Birth control. That's
I'm
interesting.
more I'm more over here on the atomic energy. What the fuck does she know about nuclear power plants?
Atomic. Oh yeah, that's one too. Those are actually interesting.
Let's see.
Atomic.
Where can I find
the
this?
birth control? On the line on the topic of the birth control, you have to wonder: did she have sex?
Oh, she was
You have to-
married.
She was married.
She was married, I think.
Do you think her husband's brother was like, let me take a turn? She won't notice the difference because she can't see. I'm just saying she wouldn't even know.
Oh my god.
Her son, she would feel the different wiener size, but other than that,
Oh my god.
you know what I'm saying? She wouldn't even see who did it.
Oh.
You have to wonder if she was taken advantage of. I would err on the side of yes. I think that might be what the birth control thing is about.
All right, here let's see. Companions. Anne Sullivan stayed as a companion to Helen Keller.
Right, that was her
long
teacher.
after she taught
friend.
her. Sullivan married John Macy in 1905. Polly Thompson was hired to keep the house. Keller moved to Forest City in Queens together with Sullivan and her husband and used the house for her efforts for the blind. Helen Keller had a love affair and became secretly engaged and defied her teacher and family by attempting to elope with the man she loved.
Dang, she was sneaking around, man.
She was a home wrecker. Deaf and blind home wrecker.
That's crazy.
That's fucking wild.
And what?
That it does. I was wrong. It doesn't look like she was married. It just looks like she got engaged and attempted an elopement. So she never actually got married. She was just secretly engaged and having love affairs.
She probably couldn't find the courthouse.
Oh, that's fucking wild. Let's see. I want to
That
find
is
this.
crazy.
I want to find this book on
The
atomic
nuclear
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Helen Keller met every president from Cleveland to Johnson. She met Alexander Graham Bell, Charlie Chaplin, Mark Twain.
Dang, she met the guy who invented a thing that she'd never be able to use. Alexander Graham Bell with the phone.
In 1909, Keller became a member of the Socialist Party and actively campaigned and wrote in support for the working class.
She was a socialist?
She was a socialist, also known as a communist these days.
Interesting. See, that's something I don't think people talk about. That's certainly not something I learned about her.
Nope. Let's see. Oh, here's a controversial statement that she made. In 1912, Keller joined the Industrial Workers of the World. Blah blah blah. Here's a quote. The last sentence or something refers to prostitution and syphilis. The former, a life of shame. The women used to support themselves and contracted syphilis. Untreated, leading to, this is about being blind. She's shaming prostitutes for getting syphilis, and that's why they went blind.
Who? Hellen Keller?
Yeah.
She's blind.
Yes, but she went blind for other reasons. She's now shaming prostitutes who got syphilis, and the syphilis caused their blindness.
So she's saying I'm blind, but you whoring around are the reason you're blind. You suck. What?
So she's shaming prostitutes. Keller supported eugenics. What are those?
That rings a bell.
Eugenics is a set of beliefs and practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of the human population.
It's like selective breeding, I think.
That's pretty much it. So she wanted selective breed.
You know that's
she doesn't sound like a good person. She doesn't sound like a good person. She sounds like
a racist communist, dude. She's like, eugenics is basically like if you want, you want to keep your people white, only breed with white people, or if you want your lineage to be tall or athletic or whatever, it's like I'm gonna discriminate by only procreating with people that I deem fit.
Here's a snippet from the Wikipedia page. While it originated as a progressive social movement, in contemporary usage, the term is closely associated to scientific racism. Historically, the idea of eugenics has been used to argue for a broad array of practices ranging from prenatal care for mothers deemed genetically desirable to the forced sterilization and murder of those deemed unfit. So
that's pretty much what I just said, right?
Hellen Keller supported this.
Wow.
So not only do we think that she's a fake and she had the ability to hear or see in some ability.
Right, in some capacity.
She also was
a horrible person.
She was a communist and supported eugenics. She was out there being like, oh, you've got that wrong with you? Off with their head.
Right.
I still can't find this stupid fucking book. Oh, here. One of her earliest writing pieces at age 11 was The Frost King. There were allegations that this story had been plagiarized from the Frost Fairies.
How is she plagiarizing stuff? She can't even see.
She's plagiarizing. At 22, she wrote an autobiography with the help of Sullivan and her husband. It recounts life up to age 21 and was written during her time in college.
See, that's the
She
thing is
she
that I
didn't
think
she didn't go to college in a progressive time. Women didn't even have rights yet, and she's like, "Oh, I went to college."
yeah, that's crazy.
You're deaf and blind. You
You're
somehow
useless.
you went to college before women could even vote. Why?
Well, that's the privilege behind her
why does
disability.
this all sound fake?
Well, one, you have to take every book that she supposedly wrote with a grain of salt because I don't think she solely wrote anything. I think it was all the interpretation
No,
of Sullivan.
she didn't write anything because ba-dum.
Just letting you know, I might have to hop off at moment's notice if I get a task that I have to do for work.
Nah, you're
Just-
fine.
Just so everybody knows, we're actually recording this in the morning as opposed to the evening. So
Yes, we are recording this. It is currently 10:59 a.m.
yep,
Um,
on a Thursday morning.
Joey has been up for probably a couple hours.
Yeah,
Um,
2-3 hours.
I
You've been up
have
since
been
like
up.
4, haven't you?
My alarm went off at 2:30 this morning to go to
2:30.
work. I had to be there at 3:45.
So it's pretty close to the evening for Austin.
Yeah, it is. It is afternoon for me. I am 6.5 hours into my day. Let's see. How did she write these books? Dun-dun. Here, how did Hellen Keller write books? Hellen Keller and other blind writers in her era used a device called a braille writer, similar to a typewriter, but it only had 6 keys. Each key strikes the paper in a specific spot, and it all used braille. And she learned a form of sign language that involved tracing fingers against her hand, which she could do even while blind. So maybe that's how she learned how to fly, but at the same time, I wouldn't want 2 sets of random hands on a plane.
Right. You're like, oh, what was that? Push stick forward all the way. Okay, and then you're done.
And then here it says
4-engine plane.
sometimes she used dictation. Deaf and blind people will type or do voice to text, but she went deaf at such a young age that she never learned how to talk. So
Right.
she couldn't hear anybody tell her the pronunciation of things. I don't understand the fascination with her. From what we're reading and finding out here,
She doesn't sound like a great person.
it sounds like she's kind of a bad person.
Well, it almost. I mean, I would err on the side of it would be a reasonable theory that her entire deaf and blindness was not to the extent that she was claiming, and that she used it to advance her communist views around the world, to become famous and to get her ideals out there and spread around, and her eugenics and whatnot.
Let's see what Britannica has to say. Hellen Keller was both deaf and blind. Despite these, she became a skilled writer and speaker. Da-da-da-da. She could soon read sentences by feeling raised words on cardboard. Later, she learned Braille. Learning to speak was a bigger challenge. Heller did it by touching the lips and throats of a person. She was able to feel the way the lips moved and the way the throat vibrated.
No way, dude. There's no way.
Hello.
There's
Hello.
no way. There's no way, dude. There's no way.
What's up? It does. I'm over here feeling it. And it just feels like it's vibrating.
Yeah, exactly. You can't tell what the fuck words being said. You know, most of the words use similar mouth movements and similar vibrations of your throat. So how would you even know the difference? She could be saying shit instead of hello or something. You know, something with the same amount of syllables.
Oh, here. Keller was born in northern Alabama. Her father served as a captain in the Confederate Army.
What?
Her family was part of the slave-holding elites before the American Civil War.
So,
Her family owned slaves.
so
She
man,
owned
she's
slaves.
really just an enemy to everybody then, huh? Because she's a communist, so capitalists don't like her, and then her her family were slave owners, so now the progressives don't like her. She's just
She wrote
she just
books on Gandhi, which, if anyone knows anything about Gandhi, also a pretty bad person if you look at it.
we'll have
He
to
he
make
did
that another episode because
he didn't sleep with underage girls, but he was very adamant on underage girls sleeping next to him.
I did hear something about that. I remember.
So she wrote books on
something like that.
Gandhi. Her family owned slave. They lost their status, but that still doesn't change anything. You're still a slave owning family. It doesn't matter
Right.
if you lost it or not. That here. Keller's paternal lineage was traced to Caspar Keller, a native of Switzerland. One of Hellen's Swiss ancestors was the first teacher to the deaf in Zurich. Keller reflected on this fact in her autobiography, asserting that there is no king who has not had a slave among his ancestors, and no slave who has not had a king amongst his. So she's basically, that sentence says, everyone owns slaves. My family's not bad.
Well, and the thing is that I actually agree with that because at that time,
owning slaves was
that was the
more
norm
of,
everywhere
it was
around the world.
It was the norm for thousands of years for blacks, browns, and
Everybody.
whites and
All over the
Asians.
place.
Every person of color was a slave because the Vikings had white people. I don't know what white people, but the Vikings had white slaves.
Yeah, everybody had
So
the bottom of the barrel to somebody else at some point or another.
And I mean, we talked about it. Jews were not slaves to build the pyramids because we discussed it in our pyramid series. Slaves were probably not ideal in trying to build your giant pyramid.
Right.
We discussed that. It probably wasn't a good idea to have slaves if you wanted several giant pyramids done.
Right. I think you're asking for too much at that point.
So we did debunk that slaves did not build the pyramids, nor were they Jewish slaves, because we found out that the pyramids
They came after.
The pyramids were built after,
long before. Didn't we find that the pyramids were built?
I think they were built
longer before the Jews than we are currently away from the Jews right now.
I think it was something like 1,500 years was after the first pyramid was built that Abraham had done his things, and Abraham is the start of the Jewish religion. So it was 1,500 years before so-called the first Jew and Abraham. And we're, 2,500 from Abraham or something? I think he was before Jesus.
Yeah.
By a little bit.
Yeah, well, I don't know if there is an exact number, but definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely hundreds of years.
Definitely Jews are definitely older than Christianity. Don't know by how much. But we talked about that in the pyramid series. Y'all need to go watch it. 3 parts. If you know why it's 3 parts.
Get caught up. Get up.
Yeah, get caught up.
All right.
Well,
Well, I think in conclusion for today's episode,
In
Hellen
conclu-
Keller is an awful person.
Yep, not a
Whether-
good person. You can believe if she could see or hear even just a little bit if you want to. Our conclusion is she had the ability to see and hear to an extent.
And
But
that
the
she
overall
used-
the overall moral is she's just a bad person. Because socialists back in that time were communists at the same ideologies today. She supported owning slaves and believed everybody owned them, so her family wasn't bad. And eugenics, she believed in that. So,
right.
you know, if you aren't an ideal person, we're going to kill you. Hitler had the same idea.
We're gonna make
and that-
yeah. Yep.
So,
Yep.
same ideology on eugenics as Hitler, so she's doing great. But we are going to run out of time here. You know, we try to keep these short for y'all. Don't
All
want
right.
to keep up
But,
too much.
Hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Yep. Season 2, episode 1. We've got plenty more coming. We will be coming out every other Monday for the rest of the year, is at least what we've got planned. We've got no plans into the new year, but it is also only September. So,
So if you enjoyed the video, comment, let us know. If you hated
comment.
the video,
don't let
still
us
comment.
know, but yeah.
still comment, but keep
no
it
hate
positive.
comments. Okay,
Right,
just
right.
remember, we
Constructive
will
criticism.
send you the gay pride pyramid emoji once we get it made.
Right,
We'll figure it out. We're still working on making emojis.
right. One of these days, I want
We'll
our
send you-
entire comment section to just be gay pyramids, gay pride pyramids.
Gay
Rainbow
pride
pyramids.
pyramid middle finger emojis.
Yeah,
So
the whole
we'll-
comment section. And if we
we'll
can
figure
do
it
that,
out.
then we'll be good. But
Ah.
subscribe,
Like,
follow,
comment,
whatever you gotta
subscribe.
do. Yep.
Creative criticism. And, you know, we'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
All right. Peace.